Hello ladies and gentlemen, how you doing? I'm Tony G, here with another lesson from Guitar with Tony G. So today we're going to talk about how to make more of your practice time. I had a subscriber reach out and they asked, how do I actually approach practicing? How do I make my time effective? How do I actually practice in an effective manner? Well, today I'm going to show you a couple techniques as well as teach you about how to get into the right mindset to really make some progress while we're practicing. So the first thing we're going to talk about is how to find out what you actually need to practice. Because just playing everything that you know from the beginning to the very end isn't going to be very effective. It's not going to help you fix the problem spots. It's just going to be slowly getting better as you play through this entire thing without giving anything specific focus. So I want you to think about your favorite lick or your favorite song or the chord progression or the finger exercise, whatever you're working on right now, and think about what aspect of that actually gives you the trouble. What technique is giving you the trouble? Is there one specific spot that you always make a mistake? Let's take a look at that and kind of just boil things down to that more specific level so that we can talk about what we really need to be practicing. Once we get to that specific level, we're going to break things down. So here's an example for me. A few years ago, I found that I was being inconsistent with my alternate picking when I would play specific patterns. For example, one of them was just a standard 2-octave major scale. I found that I was actually snagging and I was doing a double upstroke in between two of those strings, but only when I was doing the descending portion. So the descending means that we start at the top of the scale and work our way down. Right there, that's an up, up, and then down, up, down on the 5th string. But what I would do a lot of the time is I would play up, down, up, up. I was doing a double upstroke. And because of that, I was becoming inconsistent and I could feel a little bit of a snag. So when I was working with the metronome, I would always be slightly off there. So how do I get better at this? Do I just continue to play the whole entire scale? No. What I did instead was I just focused on strings 4 and 5. I know that I start string 4 with an upstroke, and then I start string 5 with a downstroke. So I worked on just those two strings back to back, slowly at first, and then eventually picking up speed. Once I felt really good about that, then I threw that back into the entire exercise. And I could find that after I practiced on just those two strings individually, playing the entire exercise afterward went so much smoother because I had isolated that problem spot and I worked on just that spot itself before I threw it back into the larger picture. Doing isolated practice will help you out so much because I waste so much time if I play that entire scale ascending and then descending just to get to those two strings that I have a problem with. So same thing with you. If you're playing and you always hit that same chord transition, I don't know, you're playing House of the Rising Sun and you're trying to play D to F, and that F just never goes well for you, then don't play the entire chord progression leading up to that and then play beyond that. Just focus on the transition from D to F. You don't need anything else in there. But lots of times as guitar players, we want to play everything because it's so much more fun, and that's totally fine. But if you really want to make more of your practice time, try isolating those problem spots. Find out what your issue is. Is it missing one downstroke or upstroke like I did in the major scale? Is it one chord transition in this entire song that you're learning? Is it one wrong fretted note as you're playing a lick? Maybe you're using the wrong finger, or maybe that finger just isn't quite getting to that string fast enough. Cut away all the beginning and all the end of what doesn't matter, of the lick or the riff, the song, the progression, whatever you're playing, and just isolate that small part. It takes so much discipline to do this, I know. But if you can isolate that one problem spot and fix it, then when you throw it back into the bigger picture, it's going to make you feel so much better about your playing. So trust me, I had to learn this the hard way, and it will really, really help your playing. Now, let's talk about the mindset that I want you to be in when you're practicing. When you're practicing something, If you have yet to isolate a problem spot, but that problem spot always comes up, I want you to try to play through it. I don't want you to stop every time that you get to that problem spot, because if you stop every time you play that, your mind is always going to think, okay, we're going to stop here because I'm going to make a mistake, and then inevitably you will make that mistake the vast majority of the time. So instead of training your brain to think about this next part as becoming a mistake, I want you to play through it. Even if you do make a mistake, I still want you to just try to play through it as if you didn't, because that will help condition your brain to know that it's just a fluid motion. We're just going to be consistent. Because at the end of the day, let's face it, all musicians make mistakes. That's why the most amazing musicians practice the most, because they overcome their mistakes by practicing. But even though all musicians make mistakes, good musicians learn to adjust those mistakes and to fix them. And getting into this mindset of thinking, oh, yeah, I'm making this mistake now, but I'm going to play past it as if I didn't, will help your brain when you go and you isolate that practice and then you throw it back in. You'll have that more positive and confident mindset to play through that mistake instead of always thinking you're going to make a mistake there. Because you won't always make a mistake there if you put the hard work into it. As far as your practice time goes, what I love to do is I love to warm up a little bit. I'll play some finger exercises, I'll do some scales. You can do some really basic stuff just to get your hands moving. If you want to, you can even do stretches with your hands. You can do some finger stretches, you can roll out your wrists a little bit, you can do some arm stretches, do some jumping jacks, whatever you like to do, just to get the blood flowing. And then I like to jump into some really simple stuff. You can play something as simple as just like 1, 2, 3, 4, just to get your fingers moving. Once you've done that, then I want you to start working on the parts that you're going to do isolated practice on, because we just want to jump straight into the hard stuff. Now, there's no real amount of time that you have to give yourself for this, because sometimes you'll be able to solve something quite quickly, sometimes it'll take more time. But I just want you to be dedicated in this pursuit to try to perfect this part that you're having trouble with. And again, it's not going to just be like, oh, it's bad, oh, it's bad, oh, it's bad, oh, it's perfect. You're going to find progress within your practice. So just work on that hard part until you either get it right or you need to take a break. There's nothing wrong with taking a break, because sometimes I actually even feel like I will play something wrong so many times that actually becomes muscle memory. So now playing it wrong is the only thing my fingers can do. So I like taking that break, shaking my hand out, thinking about something else, getting a drink of water, and then going back at it. So that way my brain isn't just kind of in this one trench of just always playing through the exact same thing, which is wrong. Now I've kind of broken it up a little bit and given myself an opportunity to be able to play something completely different and hopefully be able to fix that mistake. After you're done with the hard stuff, make sure you reward yourself. Make sure that you're playing something that you actually really, really, truly enjoy and have fun. Because although to make the more of your practice time, we definitely want to isolate our practice parts. We want to work really hard on the stuff that we're not as good at, which isn't as fun, but we want to make sure that we're still enjoying the guitar overall. This is a little bit of a conundrum, because the more we practice on things we're not good at, the better we become at them, and then the more fun they become. So basically try to do a little bit of a trade-off. Work really hard on some stuff you know that needs fixing, but then also work really hard on having fun and enjoying this instrument. But Tony, you might be asking, how do I know if I'm getting better at the guitar? Because I sit here and I play and I just make mistake after mistake after mistake. You're making progress. I promise you that. Because with my guitar students, I see their progress on a weekly basis, because I only see them once a week. And I get to see their growth from one week to the next. For me, that's a big thing, because that's a lot of time in between. That could be hours and hours of practice time that I don't see, and then I see the end result. But as a guitar player, I see my progress in every second, and it doesn't seem like I'm making a lot. So one thing that I really enjoy doing is I'll look back through my notes of what I was working on, or I'll take videos of myself playing something maybe that I was working on last week, last month, maybe even last year. And I'll watch that, and then I will return to that same lick or song or exercise, and I'll see how I've progressed. And that's a really great tangible way for you to get evidence on your progress as well. So I know that it's harder because you're kind of in it every second of every day that you're playing, and you don't see that progress because you're seeing it second by second. But if you record yourself and then you let weeks go by and then you take a look at you doing that same thing, I promise that you will see progress. In closing here, I think what it really boils down to is that we need to be honest with ourselves. And I know I sound like my therapist here, which is a good thing, to be honest. I'm always honest with myself on what I need to improve on. It's not fun to admit that you need to improve on something, and it's not fun to go put in the hard work into that when you can play something else that you enjoy so much more. But I promise you that if you're willing to be honest with yourself, put in the hard work, have the discipline to focus on the stuff that you're not as good at, your entire skill level will raise. Thus, your fun level will also go up too, because you'll be able to play more things more easily and more consistently. And that's what we're looking for. So, please leave a comment below if you have something that you're struggling with, that you're not sure how to approach, and I'll be happy to address that in my next blog. Thank you guys so much, and get that isolated practice in. I'll talk to you soon.